thank you for coming to our program. I'm really excited about this. Those of you who are old hands at GVSHP, this is going to be very different from what we normally do.
You can say that again.
Right. This has some showbiz flavor to it. So I'm super excited about tonight's program. Those of you who aren't old hands at GVSHP, you probably are affiliated with Tony and the American Tap Dance Foundation in one way or another. But I want to welcome you on behalf of GVSHP. We're really excited to bring Tony and American Tap Dance Foundation to tonight's program. So my name is Ted Mino. I'm the Director of Programs at Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation, which is a nonprofit organization that works to preserve the history and culture of Greenwich Village. So this fits right in with our mission. I'm going to ask everybody to do a huge favor, and that is to turn off your cell phones. If you have a cell phone or anything else on you, take a minute now to power it down, turn it off, put it away. And I don't mean just put it on vibrate. I mean put it away. I'm serious, I don't want to see anybody on their cell phone until the performance has come to an end. I think it's actually quite disrespectful. So I hope that you'll agree with me and cooperate on that matter. So thank you all for that. I want to give a big shout out and acknowledge a very important GVSHP member, Nancy Kremsdorf. Nancy, stand up and take a bow. Nancy is a member of GVSHP, but she's also on the board of American Tap Dance Foundation. And Nancy is the genesis of tonight's program. She really put us all together. We had a beautiful day sitting in the park in July, right down by the river, planning tonight's program. So we've been working on it for months. And thank you, Nancy, for that, and for your support of GVSHP. And Joel, too. Did you bring your tap shoes, Joel? Okay, that's very good. So let me put on my glasses and tell you about tonight's speaker. Some of you already know Tony Waag. Tony founded the American Tap Dance Foundation, which was formerly known as the American Tap Dance Orchestra, in 1986, along with Brenda Buffalino and the late Charles Honey Coles. In 2001, he created Tap City, the annual New York City Tap Festival with premiere performances of all styles of tap by artists from around the world, as well as an extensive training program for adults, for teens and children, for citywide events, tap jams, student showcases, panel discussions, lectures, film screenings. That's your problem, Tony, you're not busy enough. In January 2010, he opened the American Tap Dance Center in New York City, where he currently directs ongoing education and training programs for tappers of all ages and levels. Please welcome Tony Waag.
Oh, gee, thank you. Thank you very much. I thought we'd start with a little film.
tiny ho ho. Skippity bop bop bop, yeah yeah. Now the bird and Harris rabbit will one. Spell with 2 pieces, say that your eye will get done. Pardon me now while I face the new. I'm the original white boy with the black top. And amused by the things that you were saying. You're an noise kids boy, cause you don't know if I'm playing. Now's the time, you know it. Now's the time for me to tap dance on your face. With my tap dance on your face. Face, tap dance on your face. Face, tap dance on your face.
So a little surprise for you. One, 2, 2, 3, 4.
Hey!
3, 2, 3, 4. Please welcome to the stage some of our kids from the American Tap Dance Center, located on Christopher Street in the historic Archive Building in the West Village. Don't rush now. When you feel blue, the best thing to do is tell yourself to forget it. Life's a funny thing, it's really great when you sing, and everything will be copacetic. Never look down, chin up and don't frown. Don't let your life get pathetic. Show a happy face to the whole human race, and everything will be copacetic. Greet your fellow man with a wide open hand. Make your neighbor's burden lighter. A friendly hello everywhere that you go is bound to make your day much brighter. When you feel sad, pretend that you're glad. Smile and you won't regret it. Laugh your cares away, tomorrow's another day, and everything will be copacetic. All together now, and everything will be. Great, you guys, now scram. Thank you so much. So, hi. My name's Tony. And as Ted said, I'm the artistic director of the American Tap Dance Foundation. And that was a famous number that was handed down from a group called the Copacetics. means everything will be all right. It was taught to my mentor, Brenda Buffalino, and then she taught it to me, and then we taught it to them, and then we taught it to them, and them, and them, and them. And it's become one of our legacy dances. I want to thank Ted. You still back there? There he is. Yeah. And Nancy for giving me this opportunity and this challenge. Actually, it's been an incredible challenge, but it's also allowed me to reconnect with some of my old people that I've worked with, such as Lorraine Goodman sitting here. Yeah. The tap dance community has been very active in the village since the mid-60s, 70s, up until now. And we in the field now refer to this kind of period from the late 60s, mid-70s, around there, as the renaissance of tap dance. And I also just want to say that I just like scratched the surface. I mean, this really has become this huge working document, actually. And I welcome any new information, any mistakes that maybe I made, I don't know. The information is not really out there except, well, okay, let me put it this way. The information, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I can't see you, but okay. The information was hard to come by, let me put it that way. Not the most recent information, because I was there, but the early information. And before I go into any sort of detail about tap dance in the village, I thought I'd start out with a little bit of tap history. This is a map of the 5 Points district downtown. Tap dance, as we recognize it now, was born in the mid-1800s and grew up right here in America. And its roots come from a blending of African, English, and Irish dances and music. And it developed into an art form right here in New York City at the 5 Points, Lower Manhattan. It's an area where freed African slaves and Irish immigrants coexisted, and tap dance was exhibited and developed in the saloons and the dance halls down there. This is what it looks like now. That plaque there has information about the 5 Points on it, and those, of course, are the courthouses, and behind that is Chinatown, and that whole area was the 5 Points. The most celebrated practitioner at the time, of course I don't have a photograph of him, was Master Juba. He was called Master Juba. His real name was William Henry Lane, and he lived in the 5 Points district. And he danced from around 1825 to 1852 or 53. And Charles Dickens even wrote about him. He was considered the first tap dancer and the first African-American minstrel star. Now, minstrelsy evolved from about 1840s to 1919 from several different American entertainment traditions, such as the traveling circus, medicine shows, Irish, like I said, Irish dance and music with African syncopated rhythms and music halls, and traveling theater productions. The father of American minstrelsy was Thomas Dartmouth Daddy Rice. He lived from 1808 to 1860. And in 1928 in New York City, in a theater, he performed a song and dance routine in blackface and tattered clothes. Rice's character was based on a folk persona named Jim Crow. I'm sure you've all heard about that. and he adapted and popularized a traditional slave song called Jump Jim Crow. Now, tap dance continued to develop in minstrel shows and music hall reviews as theaters were built in and around the Bowery area. And this is a shot of the Miners Bowery Theater. It was perhaps one of the most famous performance halls in New York. And, you know, a couple sources say that part of it is still there. I went down, you know, this was kind of fun for me. I went and took a lot of pictures of places that I wanted to talk about, and I went down there. I really couldn't see that there was anything left of this theater down there. But this Harry C. Miner got his start in New York by reconstructing, managing, and operating, and then ultimately owning numerous downtown theaters and establishments. So his name comes up quite often. And meanwhile, in the late 1880s, a circus ringmaster in the Bowery by the name of Tony Pastor opened a series of vaudeville theaters at Union Square. And another key vaudeville theater was this guy, Benjamin Franklin Keith. And he was highly influential in the evolution of vaudeville. In the Union Square area, there were numerous vaudeville theaters, and I'm still trying to find more. That's the information that's gone, because all of these theaters are gone. But there's an image here of Tammany Hall. There were several different locations for this, but Tammany Hall was on East 14th Street between 3rd Avenue and Irving Place. It's now where the Con Edison building is. And Tony Pastor actually produced several different productions at Tammany Hall. And it was the really early vaudeville beginnings. This Union Square Theater was an amazing B.F. Keith theater on 58 East 14th Street in the late 1800s, gone. And then this theater I remember, because they didn't tear it down until 2000. It was called the Jefferson Theater. Do you remember that? On 14th Street. And, sorry? Became an after-hours club. Yeah, actually a lot of these theaters did. In fact, the theater that you're sitting in became an after-hours club in the 50s, 60s, something like that. And then we have this amazing theater, which no longer exists, called the Academy of Music on 14th Street in Irving Place, also part of that Con Edison area. And I guess it was torn down in 1926. And the reason I put it up here, you know, I'm trying to make tap dance connections to vaudeville theaters, and it's very difficult because, once again, tap dance wasn't called tap dance necessarily, but there was a lot of soft shoe and sand dancing and buck dancing and different types of dance that contributed to the evolution of what we call tap dance now today. It's very complicated, it's very interesting. But the reason I mentioned this theater especially is I just know that there was probably a lot of tap in there because George M. Cohan and his family did a couple productions in this theater. Now, the single most celebrated and historic tap dancer for us, and probably for everyone that knows Bill Bojangles Robinson, who he was. And he started out as a vaudeville performer, and then he transitioned to Broadway, and then of course he went to Hollywood, and he was in all these films in the 30s and 40s with Shirley Temple. He died in New York City on November 25th, 1949. He was buried in the cemetery of the Evergreens in Brooklyn, and that was in 1949. And then in 1989, a joint congressional resolution established National Tap Dance Day on May 25th, Robinson's birthday. Did I say 1989? I think so. So then tap dance became a staple of the Hollywood musicals of the 30s and 40s, and then became a regular on television in the variety shows of the 50s and the 60s. but saw a decline in popularity when rock and roll hit the scene, and also when modern dance and ballet became a new focus on the Broadway stage. It sort of went underground. And in the 1970s, tap dance returned to Broadway with productions such as Dames at Sea, George M., No No Nanette, The Boyfriend, etc. And it began to enjoy a true renaissance, is that word again, when numerous tap dancers began to present it in various clubs and venues located in and around Greenwich Village, or let's say the villages. Now that's also where I come in. Okay, you ready? That was just taken a few weeks ago. Okay, I grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I started tap dancing in high school, and I dabbled in everything: theater, drums, voice, mime, ballet, jazz, modern, folk dance. And before that, I was also a sculpture major in college. And so my first year of college, also in Fort Collins, Colorado State was right across from my high school. That summer of 1977, after I did a year as a sculpture major, I met Brenda Buffalino. She was brought there by my first mentor, a very good friend of mine, who's still around, Diane Montgomery. And somehow she managed to get all these incredible people to this university campus while I was there. And Brenda was there with two tap dance legends, apart from herself, the late Charles Cookie Cook and the late Leslie Bubba Gaines. And this was on the front of our local paper. That's me. That's Diane. Can you tell? And that same summer, I met Honey, Charles Honey Coles. I met Honey, who was traveling through Denver on tour with a show called Bubbling Brown Sugar. You know, it's really good to collect these things and keep these things. I was able to find the program, you know, from that. And also, it doesn't mean anything to you, but it's a huge thing that I also met Mabel Lee. The same time, same production. She didn't give me the time of the day, but anyway. For those of you who know Mabel Lee's a gorgeous woman now, 95? And still bumping and shaking. So Brenda created a documentary about the copacetics. Now Honey, Cookie, Buster, Bubba, all of them were in this group called the Copacetics. And she filmed them in 1975 in New Paltz, New York. It was called Great Feats of Feet. And I put this little edit together just to give you an idea. It's very grainy, but very, historic. And fun. Uh-oh. There it is. That's Cook and Brown. These guys are all gone now. That's Bubba. I guess they were all about in their 60s at this point, late 60s. Buster. Okay, now watch this. This is amazing. That's always been my favorite part. Oh my gosh.
What year was that New Hulks?
75. 1975. So here's a classic shot of the Copacetics. The Copacetic Club was originally formed in 1949. Did I already say this? I don't know. By 21 men in and around show business. Not just tap dancers, musicians. And it was in memory of the late Bill Bojangles Robinson. And Billy Strayhorn was actually the first president of that club. So after my meeting Brenda, Cookie, Bubba, and Honey, I decided to become a tap dancer. And I visited New York a couple times. And then by way of Salt Lake City, where I studied dance and music and theater at the University of Utah. And no, I'm not Mormon. And then by way of San Francisco, where I also studied tap dance with a couple tap dancers out there. I finally decided to move to New York City with my equity card in hand, and that was 1982. And I set out to find that Buffalo woman and the Copacetics. And I'm telling you the truth, I ran into Brenda on the street the first day I moved here. And that was about 34 years ago. And she invited me to study at this place that no longer exists, called Faisal's Dance Studio, Midtown. And a few years after that, we started talking about, well, actually she got a gig, and then we formed a company called the American Tap Dance Orchestra at that studio, and with the support and guidance of Honey Coles. And this was, there's Buster and there's Cookie over here. They were two of our first guest artists, and this was down at the Battery Park Salute to the Statue of Liberty. And in 1987, we became a tax-exempt 501c3. Yay. That's just a shot from that. Then we got really swanky. And we opened this studio. Now this is not the Village, but it's one door away. It was at Mercer and Houston. And Woodpeckers, we had this tap dance center from 1989 to 95. And it was a real home for tap dance at the time. It was at 170 Mercer Street. And we presented ongoing classes and performances and related activities. It's now a hair salon. And this is the inside. But see over here? Those are the tap shoes that I left there in 1995. I took this picture a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God.
That's the wood floor that we put in there. For whatever reason, the owners of this Dop Dop salon just thought it was so cool that it was a tap center before, that they have that little shrine for us. Yeah, I just think it's so cool.
Should have left them a picture of you guys.
Yeah, well, you know, we're actually going to go back there. Well, I'll talk about that later, but see, that's us performing in the same little space. But this was an incredible time for tap dance and for a lot of tap dancers. We really cut our teeth there. And there's Cookie teaching in the other room. There was a nice room in the back. And there's Bill Irwin, who I've known for a million years, and the lovely Jackie Raven, who's no longer with us. But we would do workshops there. And people would teach, and that's, of course, Honey and Brenda at the top of the stairs. Okay, I'm getting lost in nostalgia here. Okay, so, yes, I mentioned that we cut our teeth there. It was an opportunity for many of us to put together productions and such. So, I'm just going to show it. The little clip takes me back. That's Pat Tortorici, and that's Olivia Rosencrantz. And we did a show called Pat Tony, Why Not Tap? It was our name spelled backwards. Bleep. How are we doing? I'm just taking the temperature. Can you hear? Can you see? It's cold. Oh, it's freezing in here. Oh, I wouldn't know because I have a cold, but it looks like somebody's going to take care of that. Thank you. Thank you. Good. I'm glad I asked. So during these years at Woodpeckers, many of us lived in the village. Brenda lived on Thompson Street and then moved to West Beth. I lived in 3 different apartments on 13th Street. I worked at Cafe de Bruxelles. Do you remember Cafe de Bruxelles on Greenwich Street? I was the bartender there. I tap danced on that bar. And Barbara Duffy lived on Jane Street. She was our dance captain. A little more about her. Lorraine, East Village. Jane lived in the East Village as well for a number of years. And then this gentleman, of course, lived on West 11th Street, near the West Side Highway, Gregory Hines. Now he was a close friend and a colleague to all of tap dancers. He would come to Woodpeckers all the time. He was an amazing person. We miss him terribly because he was such an incredible spokesperson for the art form. He was so positive. And he was on the board of the American Tap Dance Foundation. He helped us carry on this incredible legacy that we've been creating over the years. He was our #1 advocate until his death in 2003 already. Oy. In 1989, he created a program for PBS called Tap Dance in America. And also Tommy Tune was in that program, but more about him later. In 2001, I said this, but we renamed the company the American Tap Dance Foundation, and I became the artistic director. And more about that later, too. So Tap Dance in the Village. Whew. Let's start with some little-known or lost vaudeville theaters. So we're going to start with the Greenwich Village Follies. I was so excited to hear about this. And evidently they went on between 1917 and 1930. And this is the original building. Now wait for it. Oh, I hate that expression, but anyway. That's where it is. That's where it was. Do you recognize that? Sheridan Square. Imagine if that theater were still there. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, there's off to the side there, right? I can't remember the name.
Fat Cat.
Fat Cat. I got a picture of it later on. And then there was the Variety Theater. And the reason I put this in was that this was a significant production that Savion with the Not Your Ordinary Tappers did for 4 months in 1998 with Ayadeli Cassell, Jason Samuel Smith, and Savion's brother Abram. And then this movie theater I threw in because it goes back. It was a Yiddish theater at 181 2nd Avenue, and by the late 1930s, it was operating as a movie theater called the Century Theater, and then it was closed. And then all of these theaters, I'm telling you, they have so many name changes and so many different massive. And the reason I brought this one up is I thought it was hysterical that this is where Carol Burnett did Once Upon a Mattress in 1959. And though there's a soft shoe in Once Upon a Mattress, so I thought, okay, put that in there. Oh, I gotta go back. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know why it's skipping to that. Here we go again.
You better go in one direction.
That. Okay, we're gonna wing this because that shouldn't have come up. That has skipped 3 images. Let me just see what's after this. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, we're going to really wing this because Lynn, you mind coming out? This is Lynn Schwab, everybody. Now, for some reason, it has skipped 3 images and the music to a dance that Lynn and I were going to do, but we're still going to do it. I'll hum.
What was this?
Well, yeah, let me...
I missed all the pictures.
Well, you know, also I had a blank.
Yeah, the bottom button, Tony.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be so distracting. Can you see us?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the story of this dance, the reason we're doing this dance, is that the images that wouldn't come up were of the Palladium Theater on 14th Street. And in my research, I found a quote from Honey Coles that was the last time and place that he and his partner at the time, Charlie Atkins, did this dance called Taking a Chance on Love. I think it was in '59. Yes, 1959. The movie theaters for a period of time would stick in like kind of vaudeville acts, and then they'd show a big movie. He was thinking that it was maybe Sound of Music. Is that the year for Sound of Music?
No, too early.
Yeah, that's like later. Oh, 63. So this dance has been handed down from Honey to Brenda to Lynn and to many other people. It had no pressure. It was considered at the time, and still probably is, one of the slowest tap soft shoes that was ever created. It's got a lot of history, and we're going to do it a cappella. Okay, here we go. That's called winging it. What else did I skip here? Oh. Well, there was also an image of Leroy Reams, who was the star of the first version of 42nd Street on Broadway, and they had a big party. I couldn't believe it. When I came to New York, I, of course, went to the Palladium because it was a rock and roll venue by that time, and a big disco nightclub. And boy, was I cool. And down the street was this place called Luchow's, right? And then it turned into kind of a nightclub and called the Palace, and they had a big birthday party for Leroy Reams there, and everybody was there. I mean, it was amazing. I was like, wow. So, of course, that got torn down as well. Won't name any names. NYU. Yeah, how did that happen? I just don't know that. I can't believe that so many of these things have happened. So, okay. Watch them. No, they didn't come up. Okay, so this is Cafe Sino. And I was very moved by this too, because I had never heard of it. And it's evidently this Joe Sino was a pioneer of off-Broadway at 31 Cornelia Street in the late 50s and into the 60s. And the original Dames at Sea was developed there. And now I'm excited to talk about the Village Gate. What an amazing place that was. I had no idea. Art DeLugoff. Art DeLugoff's daughter is sitting right here, Sharon. Think about it. And her daughter. The Village Gate presented not only so many incredible, just everything for years and years and years. I have it here from 58 to 94, is that correct? 57 to 92? 94, that's okay. So I have 58 to 94. I'm glad you're here. And Sharon sent me this, which I thought was a hoot. Speaking of Tommy Tune, 1975. So this is, early when he came to New York and was, tall. He's 70 something now, I can't believe it. And then this woman, Jane Goldberg. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on with her company, the Changing Times Tap Company. She produced By Word of Foot, which is really, like the first New York City Tap Festival. And the Copathetics were there, Honey Cookie, Buster Bubba, Chuck Green, and Brenda Buffalino in her white suit. Now there's a whole story behind the suit too. I can't get into it. But this was September of 1982. And John Bubbles. Now, I won't get into this either, but this was a leading figure in the rhythm tap world. And the fact that Jane Goldberg got him to come to this festival and share his talent and knowledge and everything, it's amazing. So here's a little bit of By Word of Foot festival footage. That's Cookie. And Brownie. And that's Peg Leg Babes. Very famous Hollywood tap dancer. This was all at the Village Gate. That's Mabel. That's Honey, and that's George. That's Jane Goldberg. There were also productions at the Village Gate called Shades of Harlem with Ludi Jones in 1984 and 85. The Tapping Talk Show. I want to hear more about this. Does anybody know about this? Because it was produced by Pam Coslow, who was Gregory's wife at the time. Directed by Mercedes Ellington. Now I know these people, I just haven't had time to call them and say, what? And Sarah Safford and Jane Goldberg were the hosts, and Cookie and Buster and Honey and Harold Cromer and Greg Hines, everybody was there. And this Canadian woman named Heather Cornell had a company called Manhattan Tap, founded in 1985. She was at the top of the gate Mondays in April in 1989. She also got her BFA at NYU. And you saw us earlier, Tony Waag Tap. We did the Village Gate. Whoops. That's our program. That was back in the day where you literally pressed the letters onto the, This is an amazing production that we all put together, and it was in memorial to Steve Condos in 1990. It was at the Gate. Bunny Briggs was there, Savion, Jimmy Slide, Brenda. The whole thing was hosted by Honey Coles. It was amazing. Okay, now I'm going to jump around a bit, and I'm going to breeze through to make the point that there has been tap dance in the village or villages so often that I had to take a lot of stuff out of this. We have everything from... Oh, this is very interesting because I took this slide out. Now, isn't that weird? I took it out because I was looking for this theater called the Pilgrim Theater, and if anyone knows anything about the Pilgrim Theater, whether it's still around or whether it was, it definitely was, but I'm still trying to find it because it's on this poster that Brenda did, this amazing concert that Honey and Brenda did called Singin', Swingin' and Wingin'. But as you notice, the address is 240 East Thund Street. So I wasn't sure if it was 3rd or 2nd. And so I went to that building and I thought, could this have been the Pilgrim Theater? I don't know. Someone tell me, please. Village Vanguard, all kinds of things happened here. For one thing, again, Jane Goldberg had numerous productions there. Middle Collegiate Church, I'll never forget Brenda dancing at a you were there too, weren't you? Yeah, a couple times, yeah. For the pre-Lent Sunday worship celebration. To have a tap dancer in this church was beautiful. It was really. I threw in the Jane Hotel just because I love it. The Jane, and I know that I'm sure there were tap dancers there, but I haven't found them yet. I haven't, but I know they were there. I go by it every day. I look at it and go, oh my God. Of course, this is West Bath, and it has a huge history with this organization too. And Brenda, like I said, Brenda lives there, and been many tap dancers in and around there. But they had an early dance series that one of our first companies performed at in 1981. And the Lucille Lortel I threw in because that's where Dames at Sea was in 1969. And this is another friend of ours, Anita Feldman, who was very active at the time, late 80s. And she did a couple concerts at the Dance Center, which is now the 14th Street Y. And did I hear Margaret?
Yeah.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi, hon.
Margaret's a colleague of mine, and I want to thank Margaret for helping me with some of the history of tap dance, to try to make it a little brief, because it is very complicated. But Margaret, well, first of all, Anita did this show at what was called PS 122. Is it still there?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Margaret did a production in this new stuff. Is that what it was called? Mm-hmm. 1997, with Tandem Let. Is that how you pronounce her name? Mm-hmm. Margaret Morrison and Robin Berdulis. And I had to get Lynn Jassam in here somewhere. I knew that we did something with Lynn Jassam in the Village, and it turned out to be at this coffee house at the Gay and Lesbian Center on 13th Street. Down there it says Lynn Jassam, mime in tap shoes. If you knew her, you'd think it was funny. And Peggy Spina, tap dance company. She has a loft on Prince Street, but she did many, many, many things in and around the Village. That's St. Mark's Church. The Cable Building. Okay, now, the Cable Building, 611 Broadway. This is one of our first cooperative spaces. I'm going to pick this up. It was called New York City Tap Works, and it was from around 1986 to 89, right before we opened Woodpeckers, and it was only a block away. And we were in one of these corner rooms with the archways. And it had a bunch of tap dancers there, including Brenda, myself, Jackie Raven, Joe Deere, Heather Cornell, Neil Applebaum, Jane Goldberg, and a host of other people in and out. That's Tapworks, the company that kind of held court there. And that's us rehearsing some of our first stuff in the room. It was a very small little room, but it was so cozy and great wood floor. And Margaret, I had to put this up. Remember, this was like our first event that we produced at Tapworks, and we got the room mixed up with the address, so I crossed it out. 611 Broadway, room 624. Hysterical. And then Jane, had the audacity to do a show called Safe Sex Addictions and Tapping and Talking Dirty there. A hoot and a half. And then the Greenwich House. She did a production there, another Soul Sisters, in 1985. And Mabel Lee was in that, Joe McNamara, Brenda, Harriet Brown, a whole bunch of people. That was the flyer for it. It's so funny to see these old images, right? They're the ladies. Oh, and they did it at La Mama in 1986. Did I say that? I don't know. Had to get Dick Shays in here. This it's no longer there, but up there on the third floor. No, the second floor. Was it second floor or third floor?
Third floor.
Third floor.
It's the Kung Fu studio.
Yes. What a great place that was. They had wonderful wood floors, and we used to rehearse there, and they had turtles and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they were really amazing people that ran Dick Shea's. No longer. I guess I threw this in because another By Word of Foot festival actually took place either in this site or in that building. I haven't confirmed that. 1982. And of course, Webster Hall. This is where we did the Obie Awards in 1987. So we actually tap danced there. And of course, there's. Boy, I think. What time is it? Because I feel like I'm.
7:40.
7:40. Okay. Boy, am I going to have to breathe through these. Cooper Union, Great Hall. The Bang Group, Rhythm and Schmooze, which was Jane Goldberg's thing. The Blue Note. I remember Brenda doing many Monday nights there at the Blue Note. Savion did a night at the Blue Note in 2012 with Roy Haynes. New York City Tap Works were there in 1984. Judson Memorial Church. Amazing, amazing space. 55 Washington Square South. We did a production there called Touch, Turn, Return. I'm only going to play just a little bit of this, but this was way before its time. Let me tell you, this was an incredible concert that Brenda choreographed. Sorry, but there's so much. The acoustics were amazing in there and quite challenging. I also rented the place. That's our youth ensemble. They performed there in a series of concerts. This is Roxanne Butterfly. Now, and that's her at Deanne's Club with Max Pollock. I'm going to just breeze through all the places that these kids produced and created little tap jams at the Cooler, at the Internet Cafe, at Jules, at Linus, is that how you pronounce it? Linea, and First Street Cafe, the Anarchy Cafe, Clemente Soto Velez, Zinc Bar, Nightingale Lounge, the Easy Bar, Baby Jupiter's. These are all places that they created jams where tap dancers jammed with live musicians. Yeah, that's from the Cooler. That's one of the flyers. That's like the gang outside Internet Cafe. This is the Tap Collective. That's Susan Haybuck, our youth program director, and that's Lynn Schwab. You just saw Lynn. And they, not only did Susan actually run a youth program at the archive building for a number of years, but they also created what's called the Tap Collective, and they did a performance in Context Theater with Josh Hilberman from Boston. Okay, and then of course Bring in the Noise, Bring in the Funk was at the Public Theater, directed by George C. Wolfe, and of course it was 85 performances, 95 through 96. There's also this thing called the Shakespeare Sonnets on tap at the Public Theater. There she is. Lorraine Goodman. Now, okay, I'm going to have to breeze through this too, but Lorraine has consistently produced all kinds of tap concerts in and around the village from, I guess, 1994 through today, really. 92, you know what, I have that here. This is a lot of stuff at La Mama and the La Galleria, and this is one of the seminal pieces, really, one of the Vaudeville 2000. Of course, I think that because I was in it, but yeah, these different productions at the Galleria, which is like around the corner. I thought I had the new Rican. Oh, it's coming up. This is Barbara Duffy. For a while, she did an ongoing Sunday tap jazz brunch at Zeno's on 126 West 13th Street.
And across the street at Cafe Luke.
That's...
Did you know that? She did Cafe Luke as well.
That's where Zeno's was.
Right.
And then it moved to Cafe. And here's that New Eureka Poets Cafe that Lorraine was just mentioning, the Rhythm Connection, Lorraine Goodman Presents, in 1993, it says. Oh, in 92. And then Michaela Marino Lehrman started hooking up with Lorraine here. Lorraine started these outdoor jams, which have been so fun and so quirky, I would say. And people really do show up for them. And then they moved over to Washington Street. Charles and Washington. Did you say that they may bring that back over there? Who knows? Okay. Club 124, which is, you know, like her front stoop. And not only were these really fun events, but they got some play, you know. I mean, they really got some significant publicity. And it kind of parallels or reflects the whole idea of tap dance kind of being born on the streets. So, you know, I applaud you, Lorraine, for doing so many outdoor things, and I've been starting to do outdoor stuff. In fact, I had my youth ensemble in many of the Greenwich Village parks over the years. It was also a great way to market our programs, but it's nice to dance outside. And I threw in, here we are. There was a tap dance production right here at the Baha'i Center called Creations in 2009. It's one of the earlier concerts that featured choreography by Michelle Dorrance and Chloe Arnold and Karita Griffith, Claudia Rajarjanotto. Michelle Dorrance, if you didn't know, is the one that got the MacArthur Genius Award this year. A tap dancer. Amazing, right? And this is, of course, St. Mark's Church, which has had many, many different productions, but most significantly and recently productions by Michelle Dorrance. One shared evening with Dormisha Sunbury Edwards. The Bang Group has been there too. Like I said, Peggy Spina did something. Cherry Lane Theater did another version of the Sonnets on Tap Dance in 2014. This is the park where the Howl Festival, these are some of our kids performing at the Howl Festival, which, I don't know, I think maybe it's discontinued. Tompkins Square Park, yes. What? Oh, jeez. And then I just wanted to point out that things are still going on. This was just a few weeks ago. Brenda did an appearance at the Cornelia Street Cafe called Tapping Into New York. And like I said, Lorraine just did, on December 7th, another production at La Mama called Let Me Be Frank. And Brenda was in it, a bunch of people. Okay, Dixon Place. I just want to look this up. Am I running out of time?
Yes.
Okay. Dixon Place, several productions. Stomp is still going on. Perry Dance is still going on. NYU is still going on. Smalls had a weekly tap jam hosted by Michaela, and now and then she occasionally did the Fat Cat. There we go. That's home. We do programs for kids. How much time do I have to talk?
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
You have 10 minutes till it's 8.
10 minutes?
10 minutes to 8.
Let's watch this. Thank you, Chad. A lot of action at the American Tap Dance Center. Okay. PS 123. I mean 133. Is it 133? 122. Right down the street, we use it all the time. So thank you, 122.
PS3.
PS3.
Grove Street.
PS3.
Yes.
I was just testing you. I was testing you. And of course, the 14th Street Y, we do a spring concert every year called Rhythm in Motion. I'll show you a little bit of promotional clip of that. Coming up again in the spring for the 4th year. Oh, now the volume's too low.
Now it's too low.
But this is born from a program that I started called an Artist in Residence program. Okay. And so this is a good way to segue into presenting one of our artists in residence, Felipe Galgani, and his friend Jackie. I think this is his 3rd year with us. He's from Brazil. I think and he put this together just for you all. So why don't we do it? I think it starts with Jackie.
Tapos na ka nakita ka naman ng
Felipe and Jackie. That was cute. Thank you. Take a bow. Take a bow. Bow, bow. Okay, so I guess I have to wrap this up. I just wanted to say thank you again for coming. Thank you for indulging me. We're in pretty good shape. Tap dance is in pretty good shape. There's a lot going on, despite what the New Yorker or the New York Times have said recently. But it would be very helpful, I think, if we had a tap dance theater. So I've been talking about this. Something kind of like this place would do. And I think it should be in the village.
Yeah. Yes.
I really do think it could be, and it could be called the Copacetic Theater. And so keep your eyes and ears open, okay, and call me if you find anything, any possibilities. Thank you very much.